In the early hours of a Friday morning in New York in 2015, German tourist Carolyn Dekeyser and a female friend had been enjoying the city's nightlife and were on their way back to this apartment building. That enjoyment quickly turned to fear when they met a drunk stranger. They had no idea he was Australian Rugby League player Matthew Lodge.
He physically grabbed Carolyn and told her that he was going to bring her back to Australia with him. And when she said no, he threatened her and told her, "Do you think tonight is the night that you're going to die?"
Terrified, the women ran towards the building. CCTV footage obtained by 7:30 shows them arriving outside with Matthew Lodge in close pursuit. They frantically hit intercom buttons and one of the building's residents came to their rescue.
Joseph Cartright heard what was happening. He came outside and let them in the building. But what Joe didn't realize was that Matthew Lodge was right behind them.
What happened next has changed the lives of Joseph Cartright and his family forever. This security camera shows Lodge threatening Cartright and following him inside his apartment, where his wife and 9-year-old son were.
I told my son that he had to hide and that this was the scariest thing that's ever happened, and I had to watch him shaking and crying and hiding in the bathtub.
Joseph Cartright lured the 120-kilo Lodge back into the lobby, and that's when the camera captured this vicious assault.
I will say, sorry, it's just thinking of that moment. I was frightened. I think I'd mentioned before that at one point I was so nerved that I could not feel anything. I was numb.
With Joseph Cartright on the ground, Matthew Lodge ran back into the apartment, locking him out.
Standing outside, pounding on the door, trying to climb through the windows to get in to try to save my family.
Inside, Ruth Fowler was trapped in the bathroom with her son Henry as Lodge launched his next attack.
Her son was cowering in the bathtub and saw a man's fist come through the bathroom door over his mom's head.
Hitting the door. He was incoherent. My husband was locked out of the apartment. I didn't know when help was going to come.
Lodge then hurled a 2-litre bottle of red wine at New York police. Minutes later, the rampage finally ended when he was arrested at gunpoint.
Our son still suffers from it greatly. He still has major trauma. Doorbell rings, he still questions what's happening. He still has night terrors.
These victims are speaking out now because they believe Matthew Lodge has tried to walk away from the damage he's done without making amends.
We've never felt a sense of remorse from him, ever. Not once.
League player Matthew Lodge has told 9 News the charges against him are scary after spending the weekend in jail in New York.
Matthew Lodge has paid a heavy price. He was immediately sacked by his then club, the West Tigers, and after a brief stint in Rikers Island prison, avoided a jail sentence after pleading guilty to reckless assault. Now, after 2 years in rugby league exile, he's about to make his NRL comeback with the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, I had confidence that it would come one day. There was a lot of bumps in the road and it took a while to get here, but that just makes it even better now than me.
The Broncos and the National Rugby League have strongly stood by Lodge, arguing he should be allowed to realise his potential as a future Origin player.
We signed him because he's a good football player.
Before allowing the troubled prop's return, NRL boss Todd Greenberg sat down with him and liked what he heard.
He is willing to change and he's made some great steps in his personal life to do that. I think rugby league as a sport is very forgiving. and provides young men and people in the game a second opportunity.
Lodge's supporters maintain he's worked hard to turn his life around, quitting alcohol, doing community service and completing a stint with Broncos feeder club Redcliffe.
My partner Jess, we had a little fella probably 8 weeks ago, so that's changed things up.
Seemed like a nicely wrapped package. Just,
No mention of us.
No mention at all.
But his victims have been looking on from New York in disbelief.
He has a new baby.
Yeah.
So I hope he doesn't have to hear his son beg for his life.
Matthew Lodge claims he has apologised in a letter to the prosecutor handling his case.
He has tried to reach out through the court system in America as a direct apology, written apology, and he was prevented from making direct contact for obvious reasons.
Joseph Cartright and Ruth Fowler say they've never received that apology. They don't want to stop him playing football, but question how he can without delivering one to them.
We don't want to ruin his life. We want him to take responsibility for his actions, period. Just, of course, we want him to move forward. Everybody's redeemable.
Matthew Lodge hasn't paid the $1.6 million in court-ordered compensation after the victim successfully sued him in the US for damages. Lodge, who is on a minimum contract with the Broncos and heavily in debt to family, claims he simply can't afford to pay the full amount.
My conversations with Mr. Lodge's lawyers have only reaffirmed the fact that he does not intend to take this matter seriously.
Matt needs to be able to work. His workplace is a rugby league field.
There's lots of excuses, there's lots of kind words being said about Matthew Lodge, but if you look at the basic facts of the matter, it's just so clear he should not be playing for the Broncos.
The Broncos and the NRL were also aware of another serious incident involving Matthew Lodge before they registered him. Domestic violence charges stemming from 2015.
When Matthew Lodge slapped his then girlfriend out the front of his home, and a neighbour heard the ruckus and went to her help, and from there the police were called. Matthew Lodge was arrested, he went to court, he was found guilty, he pled guilty, and from that he got a 2-year good behaviour bond.
The NRL's handling of this case is one that I'm concerned about, and I will be raising it with them. I would like more information and understanding of the rationale behind this because, to be quite frank, I was blindsided by it.
Catherine Lumby has been working with rugby league administrators since 2004 to improve player behaviour, especially towards women. She's furious about Lodge's return to the game.
My major concern about Matt Lodge is that he has not made what I would consider a fulsome public statement of total contrition and shown a deep understanding of the impact on the people involved in this. But also he has not publicly shown that he's got a plan to pay the compensation.
As the pressure builds, Matthew Lodge was again being kept well away from the media at Broncos training this morning. The prop forward has declined 7:30's interview requests, leaving others to answer for him.
The past is the past and it is what it is.
Darius, would a public apology from Matt Lodge go a long way to resolving this situation?
Yeah, I can't comment on that. That's something that happened a couple of years ago, and all I can speak of is how Lodge has been at the club the last 18 months, and he's been nothing but a respectful, humble guy.
The Brisbane club is determined to have their prized new recruit in the front row this Thursday when they take on the Dragons in the season opener.
And I just want to probably repay the favour to the club. We're all pretty committed to winning the comp. That'd be my main goal. I want to play the best footy I can for the Broncos.
But his victims in New York say the NRL should be ashamed of letting him be a role model for children while their legal dispute is unresolved.
Our 9-year-old son said to him, "I'm too young to die." That's how frightened he was. family friendly?
And he's going to be a role model?
I don't think so.